Good morning, everybody. Dave Finale here. It is Friday, August 26th, 2022. This is Real Estate Talk, TGIF, and we are in episode number 220, which is we've done 217 weeks in a row with 3 extra episodes. And here we are. We've got a great guest, someone that I've admired for a long time. And we just keep bringing out great people. And Anthony Lamacchia, thank you so much for coming on, Anthony. We're going to really get into this, but I'm going to go to a quick video really quickly, and we're going to come back and have some fun as soon as I find the video.
Excited to be here.
Real estate agent, are you looking to acquire clients consistently so you can grow your business and your income to live a great lifestyle? This is Dave Finale and the RIS Skill Builder Podcast.
Good morning, everybody. As I said, this is Real Estate Talk TGIF episode 220, and we have the one and the only Anthony Lamacchia here, who was introduced to me by one of the people who's the most influential, probably to me in life as well as my business, John Cheplack. We're both we both have worked with John, and John's been a great part of our past. Anthony, thank you so much for coming on today, man.
Well, listen, I appreciate you having me. And, John was a conduit into how you and I connected. But how you and I connected is an example of how we have been able to get to know so many great people in the business. We went to the Padres Stadium for, I believe, an RPAC event. And that was during the National Association of Realtors annual conference. And I'm mentioning that because to this day, I'm 18 years in the business. I'm astounded at how hesitant so many realtors are to go to events, to meet people, to get to know people. So there's a tip right there for those listening.
Wow, we started off right away. Okay, man. Okay, so look, before we get rolling here, I've got to ask you the first question. I ask this of everybody that comes on a broadcast. Now we start. What does TGIF stand for?
Well, I mean, they say it stands for Thank God It's Friday, but I'm not into that. My favorite day of the week is Monday.
Okay, so then since you're not into that, it's okay that you just got it wrong. It's Thank God It's Finale, because Dave Finale, my broadcast, right?
Ah, okay.
See, it makes sense. It makes sense, right? Anyway, so here we are. Anthony, you've got such great stuff going on. You're a great personality. Lamacchia Realty, Lamacchia Companies, crush it in real estate, which is amazing. Talk to me. How the hell did you get started? What made you do the things you do so that you started with and got so much momentum and started going on and doing this?
Well, how I got started in the business was, I was very interested in business at a very young age. If you asked me when I was 10 years old, if I would own a business when I got older, I would have said yes without any hesitation. But I wasn't quite sure what. I assumed I'd be involved in my dad's business, and I ended up leaving that business. It was a family business. But, when I look back, I started buying properties at 10 days after I turned 21. I bought my first property, and it kind of snowballed from there. I loved real estate since the first day I got involved in it. And that was buying a condo 30 miles outside of Boston and flipping it renting it, flipping it. And then there was other properties, multifamilies, and got involved that way. And after a couple of years of doing that kind of thing, I said, well, why don't I get a real estate license? I think I'd be okay at being a realtor. I think, maybe. And got a real estate license, started becoming a realtor, had a big network, knew a lot of people. And that helped in many ways, but it was a little hard to get off the ground like it is for everybody. And I was tied to a family business, so that made it a little harder because people thought I was just doing that forever. But got started advertising on television. The market changed. I was running a guaranteed sale ad, and things just kind of snowballed as the years went on, and pretty much ran as a single agent with a very small team in the beginning, then a medium-sized team, then a large team. And then in 2015, I converted the company to a brokerage model. I had a business partner that I bought out in 2014, converted to a brokerage model in 2015, which is no easy thing. I look back and I'm like, whoo, that was a close one. Then in 2017, I really started searching for someone that I knew could, search for someone that could help me learn how to recruit the right way, because I knew I built it, but I didn't know how to conveyor belt people on and up to success in masses. I knew how to train the people and offer leads and train and do all those kinds of things once they were in, but I wasn't bringing in enough of them. And that's when I got connected with John Cheplack, and he made a big difference in our business. And I know you know this, but when I do something and I think it'll work, I don't just do it a little bit. I go full throttle. And John talks about that when he talks about me. I go full throttle 100%. I've been called the ultimate implementer, and that's what I did. I implemented the multi-channel marketing system toward realtors instead of just to buyers and sellers like I had been doing in the years prior. And now we're making some progress, buddy. We're growing.
Yeah, and what the interesting part about is everything that you've done is that there was no easy route, right? There was no easy road that you had to travel, because let's face it. I mean, people don't know what the multi-channel marketing system is, but it is extremely involved. It's one step after the other, and you follow it and you go through it, and it makes a huge impact. And I'm relaunching mine right now as a matter of fact. So it's a lot of work, and it has to be good, right? It has to be good.
Yeah, it does. And yesterday I was down in South Carolina, and I spoke at Carolina One's annual real estate conference. They have 1,000 agents. They sold 10,000 homes last year. I was their keynote speaker at their annual event, and I talked to them about the same thing that I talk to people like you about in broker owners and team leaders. I say, folks, when you educate, you attract. When you educate, you attract. The reason you're so successful with this show and it's gotten so well known is because you're educating people. And I would say at this point in my career and this stage of our company, 75% of my mental focus is on educating realtors, and 25% is on educating buyers and sellers. And that's why we're constantly attracting buyers and sellers to the company and realtors, and now I've duplicated it. And there's several other people in the marketing department and in the sales departments that know how to attract buyers and sellers, and business development department that now know how to attract realtors too. But my obsession is more on the realtor side. And that's why we've had a lot of growth.
Yeah,
we'll have a lot more growth.
Let's talk about the true obsession here. And from what I've learned and what I've talked to you about, and it's not about, it starts with business. It starts with growing a business. It starts with working on a business. It starts with going and doing the building blocks and getting out there and known. I mean, you said you did TV advertising, right? And that was like unheard of at the time you did it, and it wasn't cheap. And then as time went on, everything you did, got you everywhere. But the main point of building your business was to do it better, but it was to do it better for the agent, right? It was all about, how can I help people do a better job? Talk to me a little bit about that, and we go and roll right into culture. I mean, talk about that, because this is the way to build a team. This is the way to build a business.
Well, let me go back in the time capsule for just a minute. So
Sure.
In the early days, my obsession was, how do I make things better for home sellers? How do I build a better process? How do I offer them more value, right? And that was my obsession, and we got very, very, very good at it. And we rolled right through 07, 08, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've never had a down year. 18 years in the business, never had a down year. We've been up every single year. Some years was close. It was a close call. But we've been up every year. And, the last 4 years, we were up 40 to 60% a year by transaction. Some years more than that by sales volume, revenue, some years more than that, but 40 to 60% by transaction. This year to date, we're up about 12% by transaction. This is going to be one of those years, clearly. But my obsession in the early days was, how do I make life better for sellers? Then we weren't doing enough buyer transactions. 2011, I shifted my focus. 2012, how do I make things better for buyers? And how do I, attract buyers? How do we convert buyers? What do we say to buyers on the phone to get them to want to work with our agents? That was my obsession. Then you get to 2015, 16, 17, my obsession shifted to, how do I make things better for realtors? And now when I get up in the morning, 90% of my thoughts are, how can I make the lives of our realtors better? Because if I make their lives better, and remember, Dave, that doesn't always mean more sales, right?
No.
It doesn't always mean that. And some realtors are like, hey, I make enough money, but I don't have 10 minutes to go to my kid's soccer game for the last 10 minutes, right? That's why we built out a whole suite of services in our company. And we built out a tremendous support system to help realtors both transactionally, but also in the field. We have people in the field that take, there are realtors in the field that take orders. Our realtors put in like on Uber, they'll put in, hey, I need coverage at a showing, I need coverage at an open house, whatever it may be. We have dispatchers, they get dispatched out, they cover those things for our realtors. So I just got really, really, really obsessed with what we can do better for our realtors. And when you look at Jeff Bezos, and I don't claim to be on Bezos's level, obviously, but he says obsessed with the customer. The customer obsession. I just took you guys through my customer obsession over the years. Early days sellers, then buyers, and now realtors. And now I want to point something out to those that are listening, because I might have friends that are saying, oh, he's not obsessed with buyers and sellers anymore. Oh, yes, I am. But I have droves of people under me that are, right? I'm the trailblazer. I'm the one that goes in first and figures it all out. And then we train our staff and train people to make it stick. So my personal obsession each day is mainly on the realtor side to make their lives better. Because I know if they do a great job, I know if they're feeling good, our clients are going to feel good. They're going to provide a good service to our clients.
Yeah, and just to qualify that too, and you don't really have to, but I mean, you built the seller system, you built the buyer system, and then you made that right. And it's something that you've actually been able to give to your agents so they can use it the way it worked for you. And as you've built, you've leveraged out different people, and now your focus is to build your business and to keep going, because why not keep going? I mean, it's fun, right?
Well, you're absolutely right about that. And I had someone ask me, well, why do you want to be the largest privately held brokerage in the country? And I said, why wouldn't I want to be? I'm not here to be second, right? I wasn't put on the earth to be second, right? I get after it. Whatever I do big. I don't always, hit home runs. I mean, fake book will make people think I do, but that's bullshit. I mean, we have mistakes, we have problems, we have, things that we trip on. And truth be told, we've had more initiatives that have failed than have been successful. Right. But the ones that have been successful, some of them have been runaways, and that that really helps.
There's the more I listen to you, the more we have in common. I mean, I actually use that same phrase you just used with the Facebook into Fakebook. I use that so much. But there was only like 3 months where it wasn't, and that was when COVID hit. But anyway, that's beside the point. I don't want to get off track. Okay, so you talk about always being a better way, right? So when we talk about agents and we talk about a brokerage, you see, you started as a team, converted to a brokerage. But basically, when we look at teams, and the real successful teams, or shall I say the profitable teams, right? We look at really another form of a brokerage, because it could be a brokerage within a brokerage, or it's their own team. So what is the better way that you talk about for your people, for your company, for your brokerage?
Okay, so I had a big team for a lot of years, and the reason I got out of it and into brokerage was I knew that you can only scale a team model so far. Brokerage model, as you know better than me, you were a broker owner for years, and you have more experience than me. Brokerage model, you can scale to the moon, right? You can't do that with a team model. I don't care what anybody says. I see some companies out there, oh, we're the number 1 team in the country, or number 3, or number 5, or number 8. They're brokerages, right? But they're running it as a team model, okay?
Yes.
We have everything that a team model has to offer, plus 50 other things, right? And what we do is we help the agents get off the ground, get up and running, and then be able to build their own business. Most team leaders don't want to do that, and that's their right. I mean, some of them are my close personal friends. I don't need them to get pissed off at me, but that's their right to do that. But it's also the agent's right to leave. It's also the agent's right to leave after a period of time when they say, hey, look, I don't need to be on this team anymore. I don't need to build up someone else's name anymore. I want to build my name. Right. And we teach and preach to realtors, you should be building your own name. You should be building your own business.
100%.
You should be branding yourself. When I go into MLS and I look up sales, I should be able to see your sales in the MLS. When I drive by a house that someone is listing, their name should be listed, not just the team leader.
Right.
And everything I just mentioned, I used to be restrictive about when we were a team model. But once I let the team model go and went into brokerage, I said, I'm letting that stuff go. If you truly want to build others, you have to let them build up on their own. You have to. And, I'm one of the few people that I think is true to that. And that's why we offer everything that a team model offers, but we're a brokerage. And we don't say, oh, you guys are on the team and you guys aren't. None of that. It's everyone's at the brokerage. If they want lead products and they have a need for leads, then they can go through that training, go to the class that involves onboarding, sign the addendum specific to that lead product, get on it and work the leads. You don't do a good job, the leads are going to be taken away. You do a good job, you get more of them. And, we've got 500 agents in the company right now, and we have a total of about 75 to 90 agents at a given time that are consistently receiving some sort of lead product from the company.
Okay, so that is the way that brokerages should be run, and you said that it's you always said in the videos I saw with you is there had to be a better way, and that's the way is you build everybody up. And I think one of the places that a lot of brokerages and teams that just want to be a team out there do not succeed is because they don't understand the individual. They're not understanding what they're doing. They're just looking for that dollar sign. And one of the things that I've looked at, Anthony, over the years is the old model of brokerage, does it still work? Is it broken? Now look at this. Before you answer that question, we came from the 70s to the 80s. It was all broker centric. Then it got franchise centric and big brokerages, and then independents started coming in. There were always independents, but in the 90s they got to be more relevant. Late 90s, et cetera, and then it started to become more agent centric as we get into the 2000s. And now, of course, it's extremely agent centric, but we still have the franchises. We still have brokerages. Personally, I believe that some of these models don't work anymore. What's your opinion on that? And what's the difference here? What am I missing, or what am I right about?
I think the traditional brokerage model still works at scale. I mean, you don't make money with it when you own a traditional brokerage if you're not doing it at scale. Okay. And I think it can work for the agent too, but it works for the agents that already have a large book of business. See, there's two things that we did vastly different than other team models, and then vastly different than other traditional brokerages. Two things. Ready?
Go.
We provide leads. Okay. Now, team models do that, but traditional brokerages usually don't. So we provide leads. We do all kinds of marketing and we produce leads. We buy some leads online, but we do a lot of marketing. We have a full-fledged relocation department. Bottom line, we provide leads to those that need it. Okay. That's number one. Number two, so that helps figure like the newer agents, newer, kind of like to the average level agent. The other thing that we did, number two, is we added services that are very complicated to implement. Okay. And that's why, I've been quoted as saying, and some of my friends around the country or here, our executive team say, you sound cocky when you say that. I don't care. Here's what I've said. People can have our playbook. Good luck playing it, because it's our playbook that we built. We built it and we have a hard time implementing it. So I've seen competitors, various other ones that have said, well, what if we started offering pictures in-house? We started offering pictures in-house 12 years ago.
Right.
We have 5 full-time photographers that drive around in vans. They do pictures, sign, lockbox, floor plans, all of those different things, right? Then we have 5 other people that drive around in Kias, and they're realtors, licensed realtors, but they're full-time employees, and they cover showings, open houses, home inspections, etc., for other realtors. Then we have people inside the company who are giving transactional assistance, etc. So the point I'm getting at is the services that we offer are far different, far deeper, more complicated to implement. And guess what else? They're not free. Nothing good is free. When I hear, oh, they're doing my pictures for free, well, they can't be that good, right? We charge a small amount. We charge a small amount for people that are taking advantage of services. But it's those two things. It's leads and services, and then a whole lot of other things that support those two efforts. But those two things is what really has made a difference for us, and that's contributed significantly to us being the fastest growing privately held brokerage in the last 6 years in the country, according to Real Trends.
So it's easy for you to put this stuff out there because it's all coming from here, right? Yep. It's all coming from things you see. And hey, I can do that for my brokerage. I can do that, right? What do you think is what was the most important thing that you've done over the past 6 years as you've grown to grow your business? What was the most, if you could put your finger on one thing or two things, what would they be?
In the last 6 years, you asked, so I'll keep it specific to that. We really dialed in how to recruit, and our friend John helped me with that. He taught me how to do it, and then I took his system and did it in our way, which was doing it big. And so growth by recruiting has helped substantially. Our training is totally different than other companies' trainings. We sell it across North America. We have training customers, teams, brokerages all over Canada, all over the United States. So the training has contributed significantly to that. And then I'd say third is probably ability to produce leads, but I will say that's gotten harder in the last couple of years with the market changing, and especially in the last few months, but that won't last forever. If the market gets slow enough, we will be producing more seller leads than anybody like we were years ago when we started.
Right. So, all right. So you just mentioned the market. So let's hit on that really quickly.
Yeah, that's okay.
What's the difference today let's just take one aspect of our business. Let's take one thing, pricing a home. What's the difference today from 6 months ago? Is there another method to do it?
Yeah. Agents need to take their time, spend an extra 10, 15 minutes with a seller, and get that seller to the right price. We just went through a 2-year period where if your price was within 10%, you'd still sell, right? That's fiction. You and I know that's fiction. That's not real estate. What we just lived through in the last 2 years is fiction. So they need to take time to really go over the comps with the seller, explain to the seller that, hey, this comp and that one that all sold in the last 60 days in this neighborhood, they all got negotiated back in March and April when interest rates were lower and inventory was lower, and that's why they were able to achieve those prices. So what we need to do now is we also need to take active comps into consideration.
100%.
And look, when we go on the market, we're competing with this one, and we're competing with that one, and we're competing with that one. That will enable you to get more sellers down to earth. You will still have sellers that won't come down to earth, but bottom line, agents have to spend substantially more time getting their prices right. Now, some agents are hearing this going, what is he talking about? I just had multiple offers over here, multiple offers over there. Yes. But here's the thing, Dave, and you know this. This is you and I have seen this movie before. 2006. I've been saying it since April. This reminds me of 2006. You'd have 2 or 3 listings over here selling over asking. Then you had 2 or 3 over here that weren't selling. And as the year went on, it was only 1 over here over asking. And then it was 5 over here not selling. And it just changed. And that's what we're living through right now. So mark my words, those that overprice their listings in the next 3 weeks, you will be sitting on listings that you can't sell in October and November. So you've got to spend extra time with the sellers. And, you can't blame the sellers. Put yourself in their shoes. The news headlines over the last 60 days, highest home prices in history. And then the subtitle says, but housing is cooling due to higher interest rates. Nobody reads the subtitle. They read the title. The seller says, I want a higher price.
Anthony, mainstream media they got it, but they're not telling anybody yet. And then we're still a couple of months away from reality hitting mainstream media, in my opinion, right? Where they actually start talking about reality rather than this BS story they're taking for sensationalization, right? You just said you look at 2006, right? But let's go back. Hey, how about this? Let's go back to 1988, 89, right? Let's go back to 78, 79, 80. It was almost the same thing. However, there are intricacies to every market that we go through, whether it's a recession or whatever you want to call it, whether it's the economy. The difference, I believe, between now and then, 2006 to 10, is that it was greed, but the greed here was by the sellers, created by this demand that realtors kept pushing. The other time was greed by the banking industry, right? But the difference here is that we're going to see not as dramatic, in my opinion, not as dramatic an issue with pricing as we did way back when. Look, I believe that in the next 6 to 18 months, we're going to see something that we were really close to on September 10th, 2001, which was a normal market. We all know what happened the next day. So we just look at it, and we almost had a normal market. And the people we're working with and everybody here, the sellers and buyers, they don't know what normal means. They don't even know what it is, right? And most real estate agents and professionals don't know either. Any comment on what I just showed?
I have a lot of comments, a lot of thoughts, and I'll tell you some of the things that we've been studying. So, number one, I do not, for the record, I don't think this is going to be an 08 scenario.
Right. Right.
For a few reasons, and I'll say them publicly so people can hear why I say that. We have
Right.
800,000 homes for sale in the United States of America right now. In August of 2008, there was about 6 million for sale. So there was a dramatic oversupply.
Exactly.
Dramatic oversupply. Number one. Number two, we don't have a credit crisis. They haven't been giving mortgages to people that didn't deserve to get a mortgage. None of that's been going on. The book of mortgages that have been written over the last decade are the strongest book of mortgages ever to be written in a single decade in history. So we're not going to have that.
Right.
But one thing we have been studying, and you hit the nail on the head when you said the early 80s. So in the early 80s, that's when I was born. So I can't claim to know what was going on when I was born in April 1981. But we've been studying it. And what's interesting is there are a lot of correlations between what happened economically in the late 70s, early 80s. Interest rates went up dramatically. There was a year there, 1981, that home sales went down 50% for
Right.
1 year. 1 year. And it's because rates went from 8, 9, 10 to 18, 19, and it just shut the market down 50%. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, but I think we're going to have a lesser version of that. I think that home sales are going to slow down a lot here over the next year or so, but that doesn't mean prices are going to fall out. Prices can't fall out unless you have an oversupply. So I wouldn't be shocked if prices, went backwards 5 or 10%, but we're not going to see what we saw in 08. Prices went up 35 to 50, 60% across the country in the last 2 years. That's out of control. So if we step back 5 or 10, I won't be shocked, but I don't see it going beyond that. But I do see sales slowing down a good amount before we readjust. The market finds an equilibrium and it takes back off again. That's what I think, and that's what we're preparing for in our company.
All right, so I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I mean, I lived through. I got my license when all that was happening, and you know what? People still bought and sold homes when interest rates were 18, 19, 20%, right? And then I saw the 80s, and what I know about 81 was that it was easy to rent properties, and I know about 88 it wasn't easy to rent properties because we hit the same thing. There's a lot of politics involved. There's a lot of economy stuff involved in the 80s and stuff, but that's beside the point. So when we look at what's going on and the changes that are going to occur or are occurring now, what does the agent need to do in order to assimilate what you and I are talking about?
Well, what you said is absolutely true. There are always people buying and selling no matter what. Take a look at Massachusetts, for example. In the spring, somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 homes a week are listed, okay? Even at the worst of COVID in late March 2020, the absolute worst, we never went below 1,000 homes a week being listed. When they said, stay home, we're all going to die, stay home, never went below 1,000 homes listed. We never went below 1,000 homes pending. So sales are always happening. What happened in the early 80s, again, I think that was extreme. I don't see that happening this time. Sales going down 50% is like, it's like once in the last 70 years that happened, and it was then. But that's also because rates went to 19%. Rates aren't going to 19% this time, but they might go to 8 or 9%. And if that happens, I expect sales to go down, a reasonable amount. But also, I want to point out, they have to go down from where they were last year. You know this. Last year, there were 6 million home sales, 6.1 million home sales in the United States. That's like 1.1 million more than normal. We average about 5 million a year. So right. You hear home sales down 20%. Well, no shit, they're down 20%. They were up 20 something last year. So
yeah, and you also have to look at, and people don't understand, this is a tough statistic for people to understand, is that still construction is way down. New home construction is still way down. What's that?
There's not enough homes.
Right. And then going up 1.1 million in sales is just like, that's unheard of without the construction. The only thing we've seen a lot of construction of, I don't know if you've seen it in your area, but I've seen it up and down the East Coast as well as Texas and other places I've been, this multitude of building of high of luxury rentals, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-story buildings of apartments. I don't understand that. I personally
look, but they're brilliant, because what has happened since June when rates went up as much as they did? A whole swath of buyers got knocked out of either being able to buy or said, I'm out of here. I'm not paying these rates, which was a mistake. They ran to rent, and now there's multiple offers on rentals, and we're renting our property management company. We're renting properties for prices we've never seen. You're right. And now that's why in the last 3 weeks, some buyers have come backwards to go, all right, I'll buy. It's amazing what happens. And, consumers are so reactive. You got to think of Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett says, be greedy when everyone else is scared.
Right.
And be scared when everyone else is greedy.
Yes.
He's right. But how many people follow that? I follow that. But I'm like 0.1%, and that takes guts to do that. And my personality, I'm not scared to try things.
And I believe, Anthony, that we are in as real estate professionals, agents, for buyers and sellers, whoever we're representing, we are in such an opportune time now, right? It is such an opportunity now for those that really want to excel because you know what? Let's face it. In the last couple of years, you could get if you got a listing, you were golden, right?
Money in the bank.
Right. Money in the bank. And basically it wasn't, you didn't have to do any marketing. You didn't have to make a huge presentation and tell them, and try to actually have a relationship with your seller. You just had to make sure that they signed on the bottom line and you sold it. So when I talk about opportune time, I look at the opportunist in the real estate business. And what I mean by that is the agents that's really hungry, that's really willing to do the work and is not going to let anything stop them. What do they have to know? What are the things that these agents that are going to take advantage of this opportunity? What do they have to know today?
Well, they have to sharpen up on their skills working with sellers.
Absolutely.
Every agent has been hoping to have more sellers and more seller leads. It's coming. Right now, it's still a little lower. We have a whole swath of homeowners that are like, well, hold on. The house I'm in, I have a 2.8% mortgage rate. If I sell and buy a new home, I'm going to be at a 5.5%. No, I won't sell. That won't last. That will not last. You know as well as I do, when markets slow down, people start to sell because they financially cave. So there's going to be more seller leads. So agents need to get themselves the training. They need to hone their skills, and they need to get ready to work with more sellers. We just went through a 5-year period, especially the last 2, where there was this many buyers and this many sellers. Right. Now all of a sudden we're like this.
Right.
We're going to go through a period in the next 2 years where there's going to be more sellers than buyers, and agents need to be prepared to deal with it. And the benefit to doing that as opposed to the multiple offer market is when there's 35 offers on a home, even if you do everything that you should do with your buyer, give them all the best advice in the world, even if you have a buyer that's willing to step up, you have a 1 in 35 chance to land that deal. When you're working with sellers, if you know how to price and you know how to price adjust, talk to your sellers about pricing right. Talk to your sellers about a price adjustment if the home's not selling. You get good at those 2 things, you'll sell all your listings. And that's something that we were particularly good at back in the day, and we're making sure to get our agents trained up on it. What you said is so right. You need to actually be in touch with your sellers again. Create a relationship. Have some back and forth. Hey, we had 5 showings. Here's what the feedback was. Hey, a lot of people are complaining about that back room. Why don't we get it painted? Why don't we make it look better? Hey, we had 10 people in. 9 of them said it's overpriced. Have you considered a price adjustment? Like that back and forth, that work hasn't happened in 2.5 years. Right. And now it's coming back, and it's a good thing.
Right. And let's face it. I mean, one of the reasons we had all these sales, in my opinion, was that people were stuck in their houses for so long. They were either going to renovate or they're going to get the hell out because they got so sick of where they were living. That's beside the point. So, all right. So the things you just mentioned and just stated that agents need to do, it's something they actually need to do all of the time, right? So in the past few years, new agents that got into business, they didn't know what they didn't know, and they still don't know what they don't know, right? The agents that were in the business previous to that, right, forgot a lot of what they learned how to do. And what we're seeing now is similar to what we're going to see, in my opinion, is similar to what happened in 2008, 9, 10, where the ones that were hungriest really excelled past all the people that said, well, I'm a top agent, right? So it's stuff that we need to do on a regular basis. They got to hone your skills. You've got to have a really good schedule. You really have to go to what are your thoughts on an agent with ritual, mindset, schedule, all of that? Because I talk a lot about that. I'm interested in your opinion.
Well, we have a whole time management course in our Crush It in Real Estate training curriculum. And, our friend John calls it choice management. I call it time management. It's one and the same. Yeah. But, what does Tony Robbins say? most people major in minor things.
Yep.
Right. They get really good at doing things that aren't that important, and they spend their whole damn day doing that. That's what agents have to be careful for. You don't need to run and deliver a check. You don't need to do all these silly errands. You don't have to go to your seller home inspections. In fact, you shouldn't. Like all these little things, you've got to gain time in your schedule so that you can spend more time going on this amazing object right here called the telephone and using it for what it was originally intended for, which is dialing, not texting, not tweeting, not, thinking you're going to convert a lead because, doing a reel. Everybody's going crazy with reels now. And I'm doing that shit too. You know that I'm very active on social, but that's not going to, help you sell more homes. It'll get you some more leads. You should be active, but nothing will work better than this. Calling your leads, going through your cell phone, calling. I said yesterday when I spoke at Carolina One, how about Monday? No, screw Monday. Tomorrow, Saturday. How about call all the A's, all the B's, all the C's in your phone? Simply say hello. How you doing? How's things going? Then go to DEF on Monday and so on all the way through. You do that. You dial your whole database. You send email newsletters out. You post things on Facebook, informational things, educational things. You're going to draw people to you like a magnet. Human beings are attracted to learning. And when you educate, you attract. And that's what I do all day, every day. And I don't have it down. I'm not perfect, but I do so much of it that some of it works.
I was silent there for a minute because that was just like perfect. Those were gold nuggets that people need to really understand, right? People talk about social. Well, I do really well on social. I get all my business over social. Hey, that's great. You want to grow your business? Just think how much more you could do if you pick this damn thing up and dial the freaking thing, right? It's amazing. There's a lot of people out there, and I'm gonna drop a book here, Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blunt, which is a great book. It talks about one of the things he says in the beginning is he talks about all these people that say, don't cold call, no call again, take my system, buy my system. Look, I only know of one system out there that will beat cold calling if you do it properly, but you're going to wait a long time for business, right? That's using one channel. And I'm not going to get into that, but I do know this. I do know that people want to look for you on social after they hear from you. So it's a substantiate. It actually tells people that you really are in the business, that you really matter. And I always tell people, look, if you're going to make phone calls and you want to worry about social, if I can't find you as a real estate agent on social, you got a problem, right? Because you're being secret. But
you're right about that, and we're both proponents of it. All I'm pointing out is people need to be willing to dial the phone too, and you get that as well as I do.
Right. I mean, I believe you need to be prospecting 3 hours a day on the phone. I really do. I mean, I think that, and then you can spend some time on social. I mean, for me, my objective is to see how many people I can help with my content, and then pick up the phone to call them to see how I can help them in person. That's really what it's all about. And that system of multi-channel is like amazing for that, right? It puts you everywhere
from all angles.
Exactly. Hey man, so we're getting up a little bit against time. I want to ask you a couple of quick questions if I can as we move forward. What would be if you had one or two bits of advice aside from honing skills and making sure you're really good? Is there anything that you could help people like yourself that want to grow their businesses or want to grow their teams? Is there any hint? Is there any trick? Is there any hack for them aside from working hard and going by the numbers?
Yeah, you have to groom good people. And, our people, and this interview is me, and I'm talking about, in my mind, I try it, but I would be nowhere without our team of people. My executive team consists of 7 people, and our leadership team, our whole leadership team consists of about 14. But out of the 7 executives, 6 of them have been with me 10 plus years. Right. We've been working together hard for a long time. And some of those services I mentioned, they didn't come from my head. They came from their heads. They came from them identifying a need that an agent had. They came from them implementing it. And I'm just the one that says, well, in some cases I am, but now we even have other people that do that. But I'm the one that okays the spend to test things, but now we even have others. Our chief operating officer, Jackie Lou, she approves things like that. And our vice presidents of the different departments, operations, et cetera, they can approve, various expenses to test things out. And, sometimes we fall flat and sometimes we don't.
Yeah, it's just a matter of you got to take chances, and you've got to go with your heart. And here's the thing, there's one thing that I've always thought about, because I believe that I've always been different in everything I've done and every way I've done stuff. I've always worked hard. And one of the things we heard from our good friend John is be different, not better, or don't worry about being better. Just worry about being different. Because if you sound like everybody else, you are like everybody else.
Yeah, but you know what? That's true. That's true. But if you're putting out true education,
right?
If you're a realtor who's selling, if you're a team leader, a broker owner, you're putting out true educational information. Where are home sales? Are they up? Are they down? Are prices up? Are they down? You put out true, real information. You are different, because very few are doing that.
Right.
I see realtors doing dances now. I see people dancing and all these things, and I'm like, that's cute and funny. And if you do it in one random video every 20, okay, great. I can have some fun too. I won't try to dance. But what are you putting out by way of education? That is what creates the following. That's it. And that's how you can be different.
Put out for education, to educate, not only builders, but to educate your buyers and sellers, and be that educator of the market, in other words, right?
That's my point. So if you're a single realtor and you're selling, then you need to be educating buyers and sellers. If you're a team leader, you need to be educating buyers, sellers, and your agents. If you're a broker owner, it's buyers, sellers, your agents at other companies, so that they get a glimpse of what it's like to be with you. Right? Show them, what it's like to be with you before they're with you.
Right. Exactly. So, we've been talking a lot of this, and I want to thank you so much for the time you spent with us, the energy you've given, and the education you've given me over the last couple of years since I ran into you, both figuratively and literally.
Yeah, we did.
And how do people get in touch with you? What's the best way, if they want to talk to you, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Well, on Instagram, you put it up right there. AJ Lamacchia. I don't go by AJ, I go by Anthony, but my handle is AJ Lamacchia. On Instagram is a great way to get directly in touch with me. Crush It in Real Estate on Facebook has a huge following. We're at 44,000 followers, 37,000 likes. Isn't that funny, Dave? Usually it's in reverse, but the competitors follow, but they don't want to like it. And I just get a kick out of that. So, Crush It in Real Estate on Facebook is a place that I'm going live often. I'm putting out real estate specific information for realtors, realtor training items, tips, etc., market updates for realtors. But then on my Instagram, a lot of personal stuff, but I've been mixing in, Dave. I've been doing Crush It mindset videos. So you and I just talked about activities, right? Market slows down. You and I know your activities have to go up. So I'm increasing my activities. I always noticed on Crush It in Real Estate on Facebook, and on Instagram, that anytime I touched on mindset things, people ate it up. They're commenting, they're messaging me. Oh, you're so motivational. So I decided in June one day to take my phone and do this and just start talking about mindset and talk about how, the market's slowing down, but it's slowing down for everyone. That was the first video I did. I said, we're on an equal playing field here. It's not like it's slow for you and busy for someone else, slower for you. And that video took fire. And since then, I've been putting out more and more mindset videos. I did one the other day just on people having a willingness to be accountable, to say, hey, I made a mistake. I was wrong. A lot of people spend more time defending and saying, no, I'm right. They screw themselves up. Just admit when you're wrong, you're wrong. And then before that, I did one on politics. I didn't get into politics, but what I said is stop watching one news station. If you're watching one news station, you're only hearing one side of the story. You're getting so angry at the other side because you're not listening to the other news station. And I've done a bunch of them in the last couple of months, and people like them. And if they want to search them, they can search the hashtag Crush It Mindset, and they'll be able to find those. So I'm not a hard guy to find. We have all websites, and people want to find me, they'll find me.
That's fantastic, man. I got two other things for you, and then we'll be done. I want to thank you again. So I have one question to ask you. It is the most important question I will ask you today. How do I, Dave Finale, help you, Anthony Lamacchia, grow your business? How do I help you grow your business?
Well, you're doing it right now. It's very gracious of you to have me on this interview and to take an interest in me and take an interest in my business and expose my business to all of your followers, because you, sir, have a great following. So you're doing it now, and I thank you for that.
Thank you so much for that. And like everyone else, I know. I mean, you wanted to come on, and then you heard from everybody that the hat comes out, right? So you get a hat because as our parting gift, as Gene Rayburn would say. Well, that's an old name. Anyway, so man, I got the hat coming out to you. Thank you so much for being on. I truly appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. And look, I tell you what, if you've got a hat that you can send out to me, you'll get it. Just send it right back. I'll wear it too. Right.
Well, I will send you a Crush It in Real Estate hat. So after this, let's trade addresses, and I'm going to have a Crush It in Real Estate hat sent to you, sir.
Absolutely. Just stay on for 1 minute. Everybody, I want to thank you so much. Next week, we got another special guest. We have Suneet Agarwal coming on from Best Sac Homes Group, Big Block Realty in Sacramento, California. Suneet's going to come on and give a lot of great nuggets, just like Anthony did. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Let me add something. Suneet's a great man. He's a personal friend, and he's one of our training customers. So our Crush It in Real Estate training, his whole team does. And he's one of the best implementers I have ever seen out of all our customers with getting his agents on the training, getting them to understand the importance and getting them to do it. And that's why he was the #1 team in California last year.
Yeah, and he keeps growing and growing and growing, and it's just a pleasure. Got to meet him a couple of months ago at an event, Sales Mastery with Bill Pipes, Agent Academy. So I got to meet him then. So I'm really excited to have him on. Stay on for 1 second. Everybody, thanks so much. We got Suneet coming on next week, and I want to thank everybody for coming on. We'll see you all next Friday.